Now, what stop? The struggle ends when the gratitude begins. How was my day yesterday? I had a very full Sunday. I started out, apart from doing my morning routine, then after that I started out creating a Sunday arena agenda, so creating an agenda and blocking time, adding time blocks for what will I be doing when and with whom. And I did this agenda together with Corinna, and then I did my own personal tactical, which for me means that I was trying to figure out what I want to focus on and why in the bigger picture. So not just the day, but actually taking a look at my past week, taking a look at the next week, and all of these things. And so for that, I started creating an agenda for my own tactical, and I noticed that this is actually tying right into my weekly review process. And I really prefer to call it a tactical and not a review, because the review, the word review for me implies that I'm just looking back and trying to process, but I'm actually also trying to look forward. So for me, a tactical is a cool way to name it. And then later on, I did the same thing, but not for myself personally, but more for my relationship with Corinna. And this is where I tried to establish what is our shared plan. And I ended up going into I wanted to say high dive now, zooming out and asking the question, what are essentially, if you know what OKRs are, objectives, defining objectives and key results for this relationship. And this, if this sounds very nerdy to you, I think it is. If I'm sounding very nerdy to you, I really like this idea of becoming conscious of what my main outcomes or objectives are, the main ones, not just all of them, or not all of them, not what are all the things that I want to change, but really what are the main things that I want to have and experience. So what is it that I want to experience very concretely within the next 3 months or up to 3 months when it comes to this relationship. And that's something where I spend time with and want to continue spending time with. And I actually want to spend time with this on a regular basis, meaning every week. And I want to do the same thing for me personally, for my relationship, and for my main work projects. And then I spent a bit of time sorting through clothes, although not much, because very fast then I was in the next time block, and Corinna is very strict about these time blocks, and I don't want to mess around with that too much because I'm making my life harder that way. So what I did is I made myself my dinner, which is my lunch-dinner combination, a big bowl of salad, and I went outdoors eating it and watching Corinna and Ita, who is a newcomer to our co-legend realm, watching them play table tennis. And then later on, when Corinna left, I played a few more ball exchanges with him, although not much. So that's also something where I was a bit sad that I didn't make more room for playing table tennis with him. And yet my urge to really get stuff forward was very high. So later on, I had the clan meeting, which I found very nice, together with Corinna, Elena, and Jacob. And what do I want to say here? I am very glad that I have this on a regular basis. This is a super cool thing in my life, this regular interaction, and not seeing also the bigger picture. It's not that there's a difference between once in the meeting I feel great, another time I feel down, but there is a flow to the whole thing, and I'm becoming aware of how the interaction goes in general, and we're supporting each other. And I'm very happy to have these people in my life on this regular occasion, and I'm very happy that they are indeed, for me, witnesses of my journey and fellows that I'm having as a part of my journey. All right, so how do I want to continue? I want to say, I want to continue with something that I introduced into this clan meeting, which is instead of doing the storytelling feedback, which if you don't know what that is, then please feel free to ask me. Instead, I introduced a gratitude round, which I started very more or less spontaneously, and I enjoyed it very much. And yet I know this is not something that I want to do as a replacement for the story feedback, because I think that's it's just not the same thing. Although I do want to have this as a sort of every now and then feature for the clan meetings. Then later on, Clemens visited to take a look at the apartment, and he was very quick about it, saying he doesn't want to disturb too much. Took a look at the apartment, got some hard facts, and noted them mentally, and that was it for him. And then also he wants to have the subletting for a longer time. He's not happy with 9 months. He wants to really have something for good. Then I did a lesson questing with Corinna for I think about 2 hours. I didn't take a strict look at the time frame, and yet I did this with her, and we went into a deeper session than the superficial one, meaning that there was a recap, there was a small polarization of hero and demon, and then later on I went into the next quest, which was continuing to answer the lesson questions to figure out the purpose by putting pieces together. And after that, I did yoga, and it was a longer session of yoga, like a 1 hour yoga session, or I think approximately, I don't know the exact time schedule, I think it's 45 minutes or something like that for her. And Corinna was leading me through her yoga routine, and I found that a bit exhausting, and at the same time, but the exhausting part was not just the poses, but it was also, or it was especially for me, the trying to know what to do when, and if I'm doing these things as intended, or as I think it is intended by people who thought about these exercises. And that was for me the hard part of the yoga routine. And that was my day yesterday. What am I going to focus on for today? And I'm going and taking a look in my office and app. 3 things. Number 1, I want to rework the onboarding process, because I figured that some people they actually did create their accounts, and yet they weren't able to follow through on their onboarding, which is a bummer, because I really want them to be a part of our community, and I didn't even know that they were that they did in fact sign up for the project. So the second thing is I want to spend time with my personal objectives and key results for me personally. And the third thing is I want to make headway on my personal ideal timetable, which is the outcome for my blueprint. And these are 3 projects, and I can go into more detail, but that's enough for me to share here. If you're curious, then ask me. If you have some feedback in general, I'd love to hear it. And I wish you a legendary day, and I hope to see you soon, then, because the best is yet to come.